Is your C value positive 12? What is your C value? How do you make it negative 12? Kimberly, what do we have left?
5x squared minus 11x.
Raise your hand if you have that on your paper. So anything to the power of 2, you always want to get equal to 0. All right, thank you, Kimberly. Valerie, how did you solve this quadratic?
I did the distance formula.
The distance formula.
I mean, not the quadratic formula.
The quadratic formula. Raise your hand if you use the quadratic formula. Okay, so you can use the quadratic formula and you're going to get the same answer as ours, but I'm going to do it by factoring. So I'm just going to take a shot. Factoring is the easiest. It doesn't always work, but I want to take a shot at it. I'm just going to write my standard form so I can get my A, B, and C. Class A times C. I'm going to write out all my B value. I'm going to write out all the factors. Really good strategy, especially when these become a lot more difficult. 5 times 12. Okay, which of those combinations of messy numbers over there, when you add or subtract, will equal 11? 15 and 4. Okay, here's a common mistake. Students are like, should I do the box? You should always do the X in the box. To explain, the box is used when your A value is greater than 1. Let's put it in. I'm going to take my 15 and 4 and always put it into these two pink boxes, the top left and bottom right. Good job, you. Class, what am I going to put here? Negative 15x. And this one? Oh, sorry. Let me add some more thinking strategies. So when I listed out these numbers, I usually pick the bigger number on the left and smaller number on the right, so you can kind of subtract to kind of see. We needed 11, right? But I needed a combination, which you guys corrected me. It's a negative 15 times 4 gives you negative 60, but those add to be negative 11. Okay? Class, what goes in this box? Always the first term. And what goes in this last box? Negative 12, and then we're just going to factor. Class, is the greatest common factor in this direction 5?
No.
Because 5 can't go into 4. Does that make sense? So we put the 5 up here. What goes over here then? That's just the x. Because x times 5x is 5x squared. X times something equals 4x. That'll be 4. 5x times something equals negative 15x. And class, is negative 3 times 4 equal negative 12? Yeah, so you should double check. So if I factor this, I get 5x plus 4 and x minus 3 is greater than or equal to 0. Raise your hand if you got that so far. So if you factored it, that's what you should have gotten. Remember, you can always FOIL, which just looks like that, and get inside the box, and you'll get those terms again. Okay, now let's apply the zero product rule so I can solve. Class, how do I solve for x here? Subtract 4. 5x equals negative 4. Divide by 5. X equals negative 4/5. Raise your hand if you got that. And if I add 3, x is equal to 3. Raise your hand if you got that. Awesome. So it doesn't matter, quadratic formula or factoring or square root method or clean the square, you got that as your answers. All right. Let's graph this. you should have a couple of clues as you're graphing this. The first one is you have your X-intercepts, 3 and negative 4/5. You put that in your calculator, that's negative 0.8, which is a little bit less than 1. Okay. I know my A value is positive, so my parabola should be opening up. My C value, if you put in 0 here, those go away, that goes away. You're left with a C value that's a negative 12. This is my Y-intercept. Class, what does your C value become? Let's graph it. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So negative 12. Way down. Okay. Now, if I fold my parabola, if I fold the taco in half, the minimum point is going to be kind of like where my pencil is. Does that make sense? The common mistake is to think that this is the minimum. It's not. And you can actually do that in your calculator, right? So I just want a quick sketch. I'll use a color pencil. How about red? Art class. Everyone say U. In your graphs, from now on, we're going to do a lot more graphs, okay? If they're the incorrect graph, you will be marked wrong. The last problem, we did an absolute value. What letter does that look like? V. What's the difference between a U and a V? Parabolas are smooth. If yours has a sharp end, you will be marked wrong. If you have issues with that, look at your calculator. It will help you. Okay? All right. Now, we need to figure out where our solutions are. We need to do what? Everyone say test it.
Test it.
Someone tell me a number to test in here. 0. Let's test it. You can use either of these. You can use the original problem, or you can even use the factored one. Let's use the factor one because I think the numbers look smaller. 5 times 0?
0.
0 plus 4.
4.
0 minus 3?
Negative 3.
4 times negative 3.
Negative 12.
Is negative 12 bigger than or equal to 0?
Yeah. Or smaller than. Oh, no, it's
Is negative 12 bigger than 0?
no.
So that's false. In between these 2 points is false. I'm going to pick another number on the outside here. Let's try 4. Class, 4 times 5?
20.
20 plus 4?
24.
4 minus 3?
Negative 1.
1 times 24. Is it bigger than 0?
Yeah.
So true. Alright, let me show you guys a calculator. Not trick, but more knowledge. Let's just say you're like, I need to evaluate the numbers and it's taking me too long. You can just punch it into your calculator. Let's do that. Y equals, press clear. I'm going to type in 5x squared minus 11x minus 12. And I can press zoom what? 6. Let's see what graph I get. Okay, it gives me something, right? I know my X-intercept is a little bit in the negative and I have one in the positive. Okay? So I put that into my calculator. 5x squared minus 11x minus 12. I'm going to put this into my table now. So second graph. And I'm going to test each of these numbers. 0, enter, gives me negative 12. Is negative 12 bigger than positive 12? True or false? False. If I put in 4, enter, is 24 bigger than 12? Sorry, is 24 bigger than 0? So we don't have it on here, but we're really looking at this inequality. We're basically taking in 4, putting in for x, and then we're evaluating, and the calculator is evaluating it for us, right? Class is 24 bigger than 0. So this would be a true. Then I'm going to check -2. I get 30. Is 30 bigger than 0? So this is a true. That means my solutions are to the left of this line. My line is at -4/5. It's a closed circle, so that's a bracket. And my graph is going in this direction. Does that make sense? This whole area is true, so that would be -infinity. Raise your hand if you got that one. So my graph is looking something like this in red. There's nothing in between. So we start here at 3. 3 is a closed circle, so that's a what? Bracket, comma, what? Positive infinity. My graph is something like this, and you have a union because there's nothing in between. So when you solve it, get your 3 regions to test. Use your calculator to help you figure that out a lot faster. And then where it is true, those will be your solutions. This is our interval notation, and that's our graph.